Hello, and welcome to the Nebraska Schools Pandemic Response Exercise video. This video is designed to help you lead your school's emergency operations planning team through a virtual or in-person exercise about a pandemic response. Throughout this video, you will be asked questions about your specific emergency operations plan. You'll want to have your plan with you as you go through this exercise. If you don't have a copy of your plan with you, take a moment to pause the video and retrieve your plan. You may also want to share it with others on your team if they don't have a copy. Now that everyone has a copy of your school's emergency response plan, let's take a few minutes and introduce everyone participating in the exercise. There may be new faces on your emergency operations planning team, so go ahead and pause the video here while you introduce yourself with your name, which organization you represent, and your role in either school or community emergency planning. Great! Now that everyone has been introduced, let's go over some exercise logistics. If you're participating in this exercise online, be sure your microphone is muted when you're not talking to avoid any distractions. You may, however, want to keep your camera on. It's helpful to see each other's faces to know whether someone may be confused or needs clarification. You should assign someone as the official scribe or note taker to record any information that will help you update your emergency operations plan in the future. And be sure to take breaks as needed. This video can be paused at any time, or you can go back and rewatch any sections that you may need to watch again. Now let's talk about the exercise objectives. After today's exercise, you should be able to identify gaps in the school or school district's current emergency operations plan, review messaging strategies for stakeholders, and identify strategies for and a timeline to update the school or school district emergency operations plan. These objectives correspond to the 3 modules that make up this exercise. There are a number of participant roles and responsibilities for this exercise. Not every team will have someone in each of these roles. However, you can assign participants to these areas as you see fit. In some cases, it may be beneficial to find external partners to fill some of these roles. Players are participants who respond to the situation presented based on current plans, policies, and procedures. Most of you participating in the exercise today are considered players. Observers support players in developing responses, but do not participate in moderated discussions. Facilitators provide situation updates and may moderate discussions, and the evaluators observe and document player discussions and may provide evaluation forms to players. Next, let's talk about exercise guidelines. This is an open, low-stress, no-fault environment. Varying viewpoints, even disagreements, are expected. Base your responses to the questions that will be posed later on the current plans and capabilities of your school or district. Decisions are not precedent-setting. Consider different approaches and suggest improvements. Issue identification is not as valuable as suggestions and recommended actions that could improve response efforts. Problem-solving efforts should be the focus. There are also some assumptions and artificialities that we need to consider for this exercise. First, the exercise is conducted in a no-fault learning environment, wherein capabilities, plans, systems, and processes will be evaluated. Second, the exercise scenario is plausible and based on real-world events that occurred starting in the winter of 2020. Third, all players receive information at the same time. And finally, don't fight the scenario. Be sure to base your responses in the scenario that is provided for you. Now, if you're ready, let's get started. Here is the scenario for Module 1, which focuses on an emergency operations plan gap analysis. In late winter, early spring of 2020, the novel coronavirus, or COVID-19, began spreading across the United States. It first began impacting areas in Washington and California before moving into other urban areas like New York City. From there, it spread throughout the country. On March 11, 2020, the World Health Organization officially declared COVID-19 a pandemic. Nebraska announced its first case of COVID-19 on March 7, 2020. In mid-March, schools across the state began the process of closing. The governor instructed schools to remain closed for 6 to 8 weeks. Already, some school districts begin discussions about school closures with no definitive return date. The key issues in Module 1 are that school officials should be familiar with their emergency operations plans, and stakeholders will discuss where gaps exist within the school emergency operations plan. For this module, you will be working in your group to address the questions in Module 1 as best you can based on your knowledge and experience. If there are multiple groups or schools participating in this exercise at the same time, appoint a spokesperson for your group so that he or she can report back to the larger group. If only one school is participating in this exercise, you will not need to report out. Here are the questions you will need to answer for Module 1. First, thinking about the early days of the pandemic, how helpful was your school's emergency operations plan in helping guide you through how your school would continue providing essential services? Second, discuss what type of situation exposed gaps in your plan. For example, students didn't have technology resources for e-learning, or teachers didn't have adequate training for alternative learning methods. Third, what strategies were used to overcome those gaps in the moment? Could those strategies be incorporated into your plan? If you are working with multiple groups, give yourselves 20 to 30 minutes to respond to these questions. Agree on a time when you will all come back together to report out. Go ahead and pause the video here to discuss your answers to these questions. If there are multiple schools or groups participating in this exercise, take a few moments to report out from each group and share your answers. If you are the only group, let the video play through to the next module. You can pause the video here to report out. Here is the scenario from Module 2, which focuses on communicating with stakeholders. You are a month into school closures. Staff are working remotely and students are participating in distance education. It is unclear how long your school will be required to operate this way, and students, parents, and the media are looking to you for information. They are wondering about how the school plans to address questions like, will students be able to return before the end of the school year? What will graduation ceremonies look like? How long will students have to participate in distance education? And what will schools look like in the fall? Answers to these questions require a coordinated effort to include information from external partners like public health, emergency management, and elected officials. The key issue in Module 2 is that school officials coordinate messaging with external partners. For this module, you will be working in your group to address the questions in Module 2 as best you can based on your knowledge and experience. If there are multiple groups or schools participating in this exercise at the same time, appoint a spokesperson for your group so that he or she can report back to the larger group. If only one school is participating in this exercise, you will not need to report out. Here are the questions you will need to answer from Module 2. First, how did you coordinate important messages about actions the school was taking during the pandemic? Who did you coordinate with? or what methods of communication did you use? Second, what lessons learned do you have about communicating important messages to stakeholders? And finally, what best practices did you incorporate in communicating messages to stakeholders that you think should be shared with others? If you are working with multiple groups, give yourselves 20 to 30 minutes to respond to these questions. Agree on a time when you all come back together to report out. Go ahead and pause the video here to discuss your answers to these questions. If there are multiple schools or groups participating in this exercise, take a few minutes to report out from each group and share your answers. If you're the only group, let the video play through to the next module. You can pause the video here to report out. Here is the scenario for Module 3, which focuses on updating your emergency operations plan. The school year is over, and you and your staff want to sit down and review the actions taken during the pandemic and think about what parts of your emergency operations plan need to be updated based on the response to the real-world event. You want to make sure your review and update of your EOP is comprehensive, so you decide to invite important stakeholders to your meeting where you will discuss plan updates. Use this time to discuss who should be invited to your EOP review/update meeting, any obstacles that might get in your way, and how you might be able to overcome those obstacles. Take a few moments to think about a timeline for updating your EOP as well. The key issue in Module 3 is that school officials use a whole community approach to updating their emergency operations plan. For this module, you will be working in your group to address the questions in Module 3 as best you can based on your knowledge and experience. If there are multiple groups or schools participating in this exercise at the same time, appoint a spokesperson for your group so that he or she can report back to the larger group. If only one school is participating in this exercise, you will not need to report out. Here are the questions you will need to answer from Module 3. First, when thinking about updating your emergency operations plan, who from your community should participate in updating the plan? Second, what obstacles do you anticipate impeding your ability to update your emergency operations plan? Third, what are some solutions to overcoming those obstacles? And fourth, what is your timeline for updating your emergency operations plan? If you are working with multiple groups, give yourselves 20 to 30 minutes to respond to these questions. Agree on a time when you all come back together to report out. Go ahead and pause the video here to discuss your answers to these questions. If there are multiple schools or groups participating in this exercise, take a few minutes to report out from each group and share your answers. If you are the only group, let the video play through to the next section. You can pause the video here to report out. Now it's time for the exercise Hot Wash. This is a chance for participants to discuss what went well and what could be improved upon for the next exercise. Take about 5 minutes and discuss as a whole group the following questions. First, what went well during the exercise? Second, what can be improved upon? And third, any suggested actions for improvement. You can pause the video here to discuss. Now that you've completed this exercise, what's next? You should review the notes captured during this exercise with any other stakeholders who were not able to participate today. Next, work with your stakeholders to update your school's emergency operations plan. And finally, distribute and review your updated plan with your stakeholders. Thank you for participating in this exercise. If you would like more information about Nebraska School Emergency Operations Plans, you can go to the Nebraska Department of Education's School Safety website at www.education.ne.gov/safety and click on the Developing an Emergency Operations Plan link.